the UFO thing seems to be real. We can't explain what they are. That is the consensus all of a sudden. 60 Minutes did a long piece of it on Sunday night. This after decades of mocking anybody who suggested, well, maybe there's something to this. The consensus has changed. And more than any other person, Lue Elizondo is responsible for that. More than any other person, he's the reason we're having this conversation tonight. Elizondo spent nearly 2 decades in military intelligence before he was named director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. And ever since he's been pushing for transparency on this issue, we're honored to have him on tonight. Lue, thanks so much for coming. So we are getting this much anticipated report, June. The law requires the Pentagon to kind of fess up and say what they know. What are we going to learn, do you think, next month?
Well, what we should learn is exactly that, what the U.S. government knows about this topic and has known for a while. It's a threat assessment that's supposed to be conducted at the unclassified level and then provided to Congress, which is a report that is expected to be comprehensive. And certainly that's a report that Congress deserves. Unfortunately, what we might get is something that is much more watered down. And I think from my perspective, that's probably the most concerning part of this. The last thing we need is more obfuscation.
Well, that's for sure. It's infuriating even to think after 70 years of lying, they would continue to lie. So 2 questions. One, why? Why all the lying at this point?
Yeah, well, first of all, why all the lying? Probably because the certain elements in the Pentagon have backed themselves in a corner. They spent such a long time and amount of energy trying to obfuscate the truth from the American people that they backed themselves into a corner and they really don't know how to get out of it. And I think the more that we shine a spotlight onto this topic, the more people are going to realize that there really is something there. I think with the announcement of the new IG Inspector General evaluation into this topic, and more importantly, the last 3 years of Pentagon obfuscation, hopefully those elements of resistance in the Pentagon will realize that type of resistance at this point is rather futile.
You worked for the U.S. government for decades. When we learned Sunday night that maybe pilots had seen these objects, unidentified flying objects, every day for 2 years in restricted airspace, the obvious response is, well, didn't that raise alarms? Wouldn't that scare the hell out of the Pentagon that their airspace was being violated? Why didn't... Yeah. I mean,
you're absolutely
were they afraid?
Right.
What,
this is part of my
what's
frustration.
the posture here?
I saw the reports, and there were times where you'd look at a monthly report, and there were 25, 26 incidents occurring in a 30-day time period. And the question is really, what the hell is wrong with you? How can you not realize that this is an issue? Let's take away for a moment the source of what this possibly could be, and let's just pretend it's either Russian or Chinese. Either way, it's not a good scenario. Someone with some sort of technology that we don't have is incurring into controlled U.S. airspace on a regular and routine basis, and no one wants to do a darn thing about it.
So one of the reasons we're having this, I mean, you're the reason we're having this conversation. You, I think more than anybody, really pushed hard to bring this stuff to the public, to bring it to light. If this report that we get next month is watered down, redacted to the point of pointlessness, do you think that whistleblowers internally will continue to leak the truth to the public?
Tucker, I do. And also, let me just say for the record, I appreciate the compliment towards me as being part of this, but I also have to give a lot of that credit to folks like you and people in the media that were brave enough 3 years ago to cover this topic when nobody else in your industry wanted to cover it, and it turns out that you were right. So first of all, thank you for doing what you do. And then secondly, yeah, I do. I think there's more and more people that are going to come out. We saw Alex Dietrich and Dave Fravor this weekend coming out for the record, and these people have a lot to lose. Alex Dietrich is still in the United States military. There's a lot at risk here. And by the way, for every one of those brave Americans that are coming out and having this conversation, there's dozens more in the shadows waiting to tell their story.
We keep hearing whispers that there is physical evidence of the existence of these objects that might tell us what they are. Do you believe that's true?
I do believe it's true. And I think we should be looking at this, and I think we should be more transparent with the American people. And the last thing we need to do is lie to the American people. I'll tell you one thing, Tucker, from my perspective, You know, that type of position where you continue to lie to the American people and obfuscate is the reasons why people like me decide one day to run for Congress. And I can tell you, the last thing DOD wants right now is someone like me in Congress. But that's what happens when you're not honest and open and fair with people. You get what you pay for.
Amen. I agree with that completely. Is there debris, do you believe, from any of these vehicles, whatever they are?
Tucker, you know, the United States government is in possession of exotic material, and I'll leave it at that. More analysis needs to be done. There's enough uniqueness about it where it demands additional analysis, additional expertise, and thankfully there are pockets in the U.S. government that are willing to have the conversation and conduct the analysis. I'm not going to say those right now, what those elements are, because I'm worried, frankly, for the same type of reprisal that I'm facing currently. But there are pockets of people that are willing to do the right thing, and fortunately, these individuals are patriotic and willing to do the job.
Amen. It's all so crazy and amazing. Lue Elizondo, thank you so much. We'll see you again.
Tucker, as always, my pleasure. Thank you.